Hello, I'm here in New York at the Business Insider Ignition Conference, and the conference just started. And Ken Auletta, a legend of business journalism in America, writer for The New Yorker, among others, Ken Auletta interviewed me. It was a tough one, and now it's time for revenge. Ken, question to you: would you recommend your kids to become journalists?
I would, yeah. In fact, our daughter is a journalist at the Huffington Post.
So you think that the digitization of journalism is not leading to a kind of superficial and biased and fact-free journalism? You think the best times of journalism are ahead of us?
I hope they are ahead of us. I certainly believe, if you look at the digital world, many people from the legacy world look at digital and they see it as a threat. I see it as an opportunity. And an opportunity to do great journalism and to do it in new ways. So I hope that happens. There are fake news, there are concerns, etc. But on balance, I'm an optimist.
How about the publishers? Who will survive? Will the legacy publishers, the established brand, make it, or will it be a bunch of new brands?
I suspect it'll be both, but more new brands than old brands. And that's a healthy thing. I mean, if you don't eat your own, if you don't say, I have to disrupt my existing legacy business in order to get into the digital world, you will not survive. Unless you have some very rich person who is willing to support it and doesn't care about losses.
What would be your advice to young journalists? Do they have to change everything, or what defines a good digital story?
I think the first thing I would advise a young journalist is to be equipped to do all kinds of journalism. Video, audio, blogging, as well as just print, you know, with what you write with your fingertips. But I think also I think that's essential. And then you have to tell good stories. I mean, if you don't know how to tell a story, you're not going to enrapture your readers and viewers.
You gave me a hard time on stage with all your Trump questions. So now tell me, is the Trump administration going to be a good time for journalists or a bad time?
Be both. I think if we're tough and smart and willing to stand up to pressures and not have an attitude that basically looks down on Trump and his supporters, I think we have to stand up to him and anyone else in politics and tell the truth as best we can tell it, and be humble when we make mistakes, admit it. What may be bad for us is that he obviously has contempt for journalists, at least he expresses that contempt, talks about changing the libel laws to make them tougher and easier to sue journalists, not just for malice, which is the current law in the United States, but for mistakes. Mm-hmm. That would be really problematic and very worrisome. But I think we have to know who we are and report without fear or favor.
Yeah, in a way, good and independent journalism is more important than ever. Last question: if you had an interview with Trump, so imagine I'm Donald Trump. I hope that's hard to imagine. What would be a question that you would like to ask him?
I would like to ask him. Actually, I think it'd be questions that would reveal what I fear I know the answer to already, which is, what do you read? What questions did you ask of Mr. Obama when you met with him? What causes you sleepless nights? What do you worry that maybe you lack to do the job? If you asked Obama that question, he would speak like the writer he is, and he would speak with humility and thoughtfulness and introspection. And I would want to tease out of Trump whether he has any of that humility and introspection. As someone who knows him for a number of years, and as someone whose parents lived in Trump Village in Coney Island, I'm afraid I know the answer.
But perhaps you have one day the opportunity to ask him. Thank you very much, Ben.
My pleasure.